Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here to review Yurr Honor Season 2, Episode 4. Now, this episode, it was interesting because it reminded me a lot of Episode 2, and so I feel like a lot of the stuff that I say is going to kind of echo what I said in Episode 2. Although I think Episode 2 was a little bit better. I don't really know. It's all kind of blending together to me since it is one complete story. You know, there isn't... I mean, the first episode was really, really good in terms of being like a season opener, but it's all really like feeling again like it's going the same speed like with season 1, where they would get at this certain speed and they would just stay there and stay there and stay there, and you were like, are they really just I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, it feels like they're almost on cruise control at some points with this series, with the writing. But this episode wasn't bad. Okay, I'm not saying it's a bad episode. It's a little observation that I noticed in terms of pacing. Because this episode, it feels a little like a slow, like another setup episode. But again, I just don't know what it's setting up to. You know, like, a lot of what happens is just people talk to each other on screen, and, you know, they kind of repeat the same conversations over and over at some points. And it didn't feel like that with last episode. It felt really like that with this one. So I'm wondering where I should start. I mean, I know that this sounds kind of anticlimactic the way that I'm reviewing it too. I kind of sound like I'm like, and it's just because that is the feeling that I get from this episode. It's a lukewarm feeling. You know, with last episode there was so much meat and there were so many great moments. This episode kind of reverted back to, okay, we're setting up, we're introducing new characters, and so that is one thing to talk about, but I guess I could go ahead and do that. So, there's this guy named Roderick, and he's going around looking for the money that was promised to him from Little Mo and the friend, and sorry, Safi just texted me. I don't know why she's doing that. It always distracts me when I'm trying to do a review. I can't. He wants the money, and he's looking for it from Eugene. And now Eugene is once again... I mean, I will say this. Like, somebody had said that he's just not showing his grief yet over the murder that he committed, and that he's just not... I mean, the grief and the guilt and the sort of, like, just really sad feeling. And then, you know, I kind of said, you know, maybe the drawings are a little bit of a hint at that. But it really feels like Eugene doesn't care. Like, once again, it's like I'm no longer of the opinion that those drawings were anything more than like a humble, like a brag. Like he's like bragging that he did all this stuff, and he's like, look at me, I'm the great Eugene, I'm the guy who can sneak and slither and you won't ever find me, and I can steal Christmas and I can steal all the money. And and so his actions are really strange, and the choices that he makes, they're just so odd, and like they really like throw me for a loop. Like, every time he comes on screen, you're wondering what he's gonna do next, and not in like a good way, like with Lalo from Better Call Saul before season 6, that is. No, it's like, what is this character? Like, he just makes the weirdest decisions. So, I kind of thought maybe he wanted to take the money for himself or something. I don't know. But he's hiding it for little Mo. And then Roderick comes and he kind of seems like a bargain bin Oscar Isaac. He's got this like little baseball hat on, and it really doesn't make him look intimidating at all. It looks like he's just kind of like a low-level thug. He doesn't look very scary. So I think that the baseball hat was a bad choice for his character. And he comes over just looking for the money, and it's so coincidental how right after little Mo calls Eugene to tell him to protect the money, immediately after you hear a ringing at the door. And it's like, wow, this is what you call television episode timing. because just right after that call ends, ding dong, and the bad guy's at the door. And he comes in too, and he looks through Eugene's backpack. And the only thing that I was surprised about, and I think that this was a bit of a missed opportunity, is that when he opens the backpack, there's no drawings that you can see. And I was so expecting for there to be some drawings sticking out, and then he would kind of pull them out a little bit, and then the mom would notice them. That seemed like what I just expected to happen, I guess. But just because, like, I don't know, like, it seems like that would happen in a show or a movie. But no, it's just a bunch of books. I hope he actually reads the books, though, because, I don't understand who he is as a character. I have no idea, like, who does this psychopath think he is? Like, he's just so... He's an enigma. Remember when Safi was doing her bad movie pitches? Like, and she kept on using the word enigma? Like, that's what Eugene is. Like, I literally can't figure out anything about him other than in season 1, his family got killed. That was kind of sad. And that's it. Like, that's all I can figure out about this character. Everything else is like a mystery to me. So after that, the other new character, I actually spoiled myself that this guy would be on the show because I was trying to see if Lee would be in the next episode. And I was like, when are they? They're not even going to mention Lee. They're not even going to show any hint that she exists. She just disappeared off the face of the earth like it's the Andy Griffith Show. And I saw that Hector from Breaking Bad was going to be in this episode. And I thought, oh, that'll be fun. And I did not even realize that he would be coming on as like, I think he's going to be the new villain. And guys, let me just make a prediction. Jimmy is going to die. And Hector is going to be the new head of the family, of course. Because now, as people have said, now we know that Jimmy has a boss. And it's like, yeah, no shit. Like, Jimmy is like the worst crime lord in television history. He doesn't do jack shit. He's all talk, no action. All he can handle is killing a bird and killing a grapefruit. Like, and he probably had sex with the grapefruit afterwards, by the way, because his wife doesn't want to have sex with him anymore. And so, he's not very intimidating. So I liked how they brought in this new villain. And of course, the new villain, he hasn't killed anyone yet either. But it was also funny because, let's see, what episode? No, wait, okay. You have Switch, you have... No, I can't remember the episode titles. I'm going to have to... No, it's not that important. But it's funny because this episode is like the exact same time where Hector came into Better Call Saul season 2. I was thinking, like, is it episode 4 or 5? I thought episode 4, because episode 2 was Cobbler, and then episode 3, 3 or 4 was Gloves Off, and then the episode after that, Hector comes in at the end, he talks to Mike, and it was so funny how much it paralleled Better Call Saul to me. I think it was purposeful at this point, which I don't blame them. This character, I'm really excited about him. I hope that he's a better villain than Jimmy, because Jimmy is just continuing to be a weak villain. And at this point, you can clearly tell, ew, there's a stink bug in my room. He's on my bed. I hope he wasn't sleeping with me last night. Well, I'm gonna have to get rid of him later. I don't even know how he got in here. Oh, now he disappeared. Oh shit. Where did that thing go? So, what was I saying? Anyways, most of this episode is revolved around the money and getting Little Mo out of prison, jail, and also Michael having to go to Jimmy's birthday party. And so, I saw the preview for this episode, and it's like this weird back and forth with this Baxter family that goes on where Jimmy invites Michael to come to his party, and he also says, bring Charlie. So it's sort of like a bait for his daughter, and I guess for the mayor and him to have business together or something. And it's like, okay, he invited him there. And then his wife gets mad that he's there. And then Jimmy gets mad because Fia admitted that she gave him a haircut. Ooh. And by the way, Michael is so lucky he got Fia to give him a haircut. Like, I feel like that would be amazing. And I need to trim my beard as well. I mean, my beard was pretty bad. I did do a little trimming this morning. There was this hair, and it was sticking out. And it was like sticking out so much that it looked like a helicopter blade. And I took a pair of scissors, and I just lopped it off at the furthest end that I could. But, Michael has Fia. And I don't blame Jimmy for being jealous. I mean, it's starting to seem too, and now this might be another prediction. Does Jimmy have some sort of a Scarface and his sister dynamic going on with Fia? Because he is just so weak, and he is so pathetic that he's so sensitive. And I just can't stand this back and forth with, like, I'm going to be nice to you 1 second, and then I'm going to have my person punch you in the stomach and try to kill you the next moment. And then when I'm trying to kill you, I'm going to say, I'm not your executioner. And then he leaves. And it's like, what? You just fucking brought him in there, you dipshit, like, to kill him. Like, what are you talking about? You're not his executioner. That is the biggest load of horse shit I've ever heard. And I've heard a lot of horse shit on this channel. A lot. So, very frustrating. You go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and you really can't figure out. It's like Michael is really walking a fine line with the Baxter family. And he has Olivia, and oh my God. It's really sad too, because Elizabeth is out of town. I think he said she's in Baton Rouge. And Olivia invites herself over to Michael's house. She's like, Michael, I want to talk to you. Are you going to be going to Jimmy's party tonight, Michael? Are you gonna be inviting Charlie? And he's like, I guess. I don't really want to do anything, though. And it's like the same conversation with them, like every single scene that they're in. It's like, Olivia, I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit around and watch Chuck Norris movies. And then Olivia's like, Michael, you know that I didn't let you out of prison for free. You know you have to do things for me. If I tell you to take off your clothes, you have to take off your clothes. And, you know, that's what it's like every single time they talk. And I don't know, it feels like, as somebody else mentioned, which I saw in the trailer for next week in the comments, just because I wanted to see what other people thought. Somebody said, you know, she doesn't really seem that powerful. She seems pretty weak. And I would have to agree, like, it might just be the pacing with the show, with the way that these characters, they don't really demonstrate a lot of power. It's like a lot of that power has to be assumed by you, the viewer, because she is a powerful a powerful attorney person. And then Jimmy, he is a powerful gangster. And so it's like you, the audience, have to put two and two together that, like, oh, that means that off camera they do a lot of crazy stuff. And, you know, that means off camera Michael, he's doing a lot of stuff with Fia too. No, he's not. I'm just kidding. But you know what I mean? Like, it's like this assumed power. And I think that should be... People should talk about that when they talk about the biggest problems with writing nowadays, with writing stories and writing characters, is that there's a lot of assuming that's going on. And when I was writing the script to the film that I'm working on right now, I did the same thing, where I had this very open-ended third act, and it was very vague, and I was going for a moody, creepy ending, and I wanted it to be a certain way, and it just didn't come off like I expected. And somebody, you know, when they read it, they asked me, you know, what happened? I don't know what happened at all. I don't know, like, anything in the last part, like, what happened? And so then I went back and I rewrote it. As I've said many times before, I wrote like 30 new pages, and it fixed everything. And I realized, like, yeah, that was a much better ending. It was a much better decision to go back and go, no, I'm going to go through step by step everything that happens, and not, you know, just have the audience assume things and assume that things are happening. So that's a little writing rant. And I was a little confused about, like, what he was supposed to do at this party. What Michael was supposed to do. He's just supposed to linger around and talk. And what's funny is that when he's walking around, the way that they shoot him is almost like you can tell that these shots are going to be put in the trailer. Because whenever he's walking around, he's got this, like, look on his face, like he's, like, very serious, and he's a serious protagonist character. And then all the other people who are at the party, they're all blurry, and they're all sort of insignificant, and it's just Michael's in focus. And I don't know, I was just wondering, is there anything really big that's going to happen at this party? And really the big thing was that Jimmy, and Fia's hair this episode, it looked different. She did something different, and it looked so much better. And so not only did Michael's hairstyle change, but hers did as well. And I think it looked really good, personally. So Jimmy does something to piss off Gina, I guess. And that's another thing. There's a lot of guessing in this episode of like guessing why characters are doing things. And, we won't find out until next week and the week after that and the week after that, of course. Jimmy introduces Michael as a new member of the Baxter family, which that came off as so desperate too. The way that he did that, and his daughter, she was just rolling her eyes because you could tell it's like just these manipulation, mind games, and he's this weak guy. He doesn't have any real opinions. Everyone is like an object to him. And so him and Michael kind of have that similarity between them, which I think is interesting. I don't think that people really talk about that much. Because then earlier on in the episode, Michael's talking with Thea, and they're sharing glasses of water together. And Thea says she wants somebody to trust, and of course Michael, he's the last person you could trust, because he uses people to get whatever he wants. And so, he is using Thea. I mean, even if she never realizes it, if Jimmy and Gina go down because of Michael, then, it's pretty bad. I mean, he's not her friend that much, as much as she thinks that he is, because he's still Olivia's puppet, even though he's like a reluctant puppet. I mean, I gotta say, if Michael was a part of the Puppet Master family, he would have failed as a puppet. I mean, he wouldn't have even gotten through the puppet auditions. Like Blade and Torch would say, yeah, fuck off, Michael. You don't do anything that your puppet master tells you to do. You're a little bitch. You need to get a haircut. And that's like his whole journey this episode, is him getting a haircut. And then he goes to this party, and Charlie comes too, which I was not shocked that Charlie would come or not, because he's a character in the show. Why wouldn't he come to the big event party and that happens in the story? Like I wasn't really like, grasping my, I don't know, what was I grasping my mocha frappe in anticipation of Charlie coming to this big party, because he's a main character. He doesn't have any choice. He will come to the party if he's a main character, and if he's a side character, he might still be able to come to the party. And I would like to talk about Carlo too, because Carlo, he had a couple little funny things this episode. I mean, he is another one who's just mellowing out and becoming this really lukewarm character, where earlier on in the episode he's chatting up the hotel receptionist, and it just seems like he's bored because he doesn't have anything to do, because he doesn't really have a real job. I mean, he's like this thug that just sits around as a quote-unquote security guard, and he's flirting with her, and there's this little scene where he's like, he gives the most cringeworthy pickup line in history. And he's like, I see this guy over there. He's got a fisherman's hat on, so that means he's probably a fisherman. And I see this couple over there, and they have a kid with them, which means they probably had that kid or they adopted him. And then there's this other person in the hotel lobby, and she's really, really in love with me, and she's sitting right in front of me. And it's like, like I was about to throw up in my mouth a little bit. Like I was like, oh God. And she was like, yeah, that's that. Like, I don't know, like she's a weirdo, so she'll probably hook up with him. It'll be like in Monk when Sharona just hooks up with that gangster, and she's like, who cares if he's a gangster and he's killed people? Like, he's a nice guy to me. it'll probably be that type of situation. So that and that moment to me too, what's interesting is that moment kind of felt a little bit like Twin Peaks to me, where you'd have the scenes with Audrey in the hotel just messing around with people. And so I thought that was kind of cool. It was a nice little scene. And then, of course, he's at the party, and he's just sitting there drinking, and he's just not really doing anything. And Gina forces him to come over and try to kick Michael out of the party. And that was something that I thought was weird, was that you'd think that she'd assume that Jimmy invited him or that Fia invited him. And if either of them did, she has no right to be telling him to leave the party. So she was another person this episode who came off as weak and pathetic, the way she had to get Carlo to come over with her to try to kick Michael out. And Carlo didn't even care. I mean, he was just looking like, whatever. Like, he's really not... I mean, he's a good actor, and he's doing a good job as this character. But his character... Ugh. Like, he's really not likable. He's just this kind of... Everyone's a weakling on this show now. Like, everyone is weak because the plot isn't letting them do much of anything. Like in last season, people were getting killed right and left, bodies were getting cleaned up, and now it's like people just kind of walk around and talk to each other, and there's this little bit of building tension in the background, and that's about it. And Michael goes to the bathroom to talk to Olivia, and surprisingly, Olivia, who's the supposed powerful, amazing figure of justice, this warrior for the good, she's sitting in her car and she's watching a horse race. And it's like she really doesn't take her job seriously either. Like, she's another kind of weakling, it seems. And she's just kind of like, Michael, what's going on at this party? Oh, don't worry about Gina, Michael. She doesn't, I mean, she's a main character, but she's not going to do very much unless it's like a side character that she could kill off. Like, it's like, you can tell, like, nothing really is going to happen. And I saw, too, in the trailer that Michael would be tied up at some point in the episode, and I knew he's not going to get killed. They're not going to kill him off, so, like, don't even pretend like it's some sort of a dramatic thing, because he's not going to die. So he discovers a second bug, because she has two. She has the phone, and then she has this bug that was put inside of his suit when she helped him pick out his suit. And I like that whole sequence because that was another sort of Breaking Bad callback where Heisenberg would look around for the bug, and then he discovers it in the car and everything. The discovering of a bug. That was a recurring thing they did on that show. And so that felt like another reference. And it was a nice little scene, I admit. Like, it was pretty cool, because I was wondering, is there a bug on him? Like, or is it in his phone or somehow? Like, in the phone case or something? I don't know. And luckily, he removed it because of what happens later on. So I thought that was a nice little touch. Oh yeah, and they also introduced Charlie into the family as the godfather, or the potential godfather of Fia's baby. So I guess Jimmy's kind of making that decision for her. So that was another weird thing. And then, of course, Carmine, he's the new character. He comes up. They all take pictures together. That moment reminded me a lot of The Offer. If you guys saw that show from last year, So I guess that was the whole point of this birthday party. And then Jimmy sees Michael hugging Fia, which, again, Michael, he thinks that he's the sad sack. He thinks that he's the sad figure, but he is the most lucky character on the show. I mean, and she's sad and she's crying because she knows that her dad is doing something, I guess, and she hates him, and he gets jealous. And so then he ties up Michael in this big room, the storage room, I guess it is, and he acts like he's going to kill him, and of course he doesn't. I thought that scene was okay. I mean, that was probably one of the better scenes of the episode, besides him destroying the bug. And Olivia, by the way, she was watching the horse races, and she's like, "Oh shit, Michael! Michael, you destroyed my bug! What are you doing, Michael?" Like, she gets really upset, and she doesn't really do anything about it at all. She just kind of like, eh. I mean, I just hope her character becomes more active. I hope that all the characters in general become more active in this story that's going on, because it seems right now like they're spinning their wheels a little bit with their actions. So then after Michael gets spared and Jimmy, he says, "I'm not your executioner," it's like, yeah, okay. The episode ends. And it's like, okay. Now with the other story with Eugene and Little Mo. There is this whole back and forth where the mom's, Eugene's new mom, her sister, she has broken the silence of 10 years to call her to try to find out where Little Mo is. And she refuses to bail them out of prison. She refuses to tell where Little Mo is. I thought that was good, the Eugene's mom character, she is becoming a better one, for sure. I thought she was pretty good in this episode for the little that she had. And Roderick is searching around for the money, and you're wondering, well, you're not wondering, because Eugene, he's just going to take the money and magically disappear. And he's going to evade all trouble. He's not going to get caught by the police. He's not going to get caught by the school or anything. Like, he's just going to run around and do whatever he wants, because he's this character who I've never seen a character like this in a TV show before. Like, I've seen versions of this type of character where they just have all this plot armor and all of this plot convenience where they can do whatever they want. But never to the extent that Eugene has, where he can just run around and do whatever with, like, no consequences whatsoever. Like, the only consequence that he faced this episode is that Roderick rifled through his backpack for like 3 seconds. And after that, it was fine. It was just another day at the Eugene drawing office. And so then Eugene takes the money and runs, I guess, and he goes to New Orleans. And he delivers it right to Big Mo, to her doorstep. And it's really funny because it was like this big reveal shot at the end of the episode. And it's like, oh, wow. That's exactly what I expected. It was no problem. He just magically slipped away and just magically got all the way there. And he evaded everyone. He evaded all trouble, including the random, just sketchy people on the street who, I wouldn't want to be going around any of these areas alone. I mean, did you see the first season with Adam, where he started to get gang stalked? I mean, that was pretty scary. And it seems like this was all a big missed opportunity. It reminded me a lot of American Horror Story Season 5, Hotel. And this is the difference between good writing and great writing. In American Horror Story Hotel, at one point, this pussy whipped guy named Donovan, one of the worst characters of the show, he has been shot up because he was protecting his lover, who he was supposed to kill, and he wants to die outside of the hotel so that his spirit is not trapped in there with all the other spirits. And his mom has to take him downstairs through the elevator and put him outside. And it's like, you'd think that this could be some intense, thrilling story that happens where she takes him down the elevator every moment, like they get attacked and the vampires are coming after them. They're trying to disable the elevator. They have to get off on another floor. Other people want to get on the elevator. Like, you could have had all this stuff happen, and it could have been some amazing bottle episode called The Elevator. And, it could have been so good. And that was the same thing that I was thinking with this, where that whole story of Eugene getting from A to B to deliver this money, it could have been its own whole episode, like not the whole episode, but like is the B story, because the A story is Michael, and you could have had the B story be Eugene, and it could have been really intense and really cool. It could have been really good, but instead you just assume Eugene, he is God tier because reasons, and he just magically gets there. I mean, I guess he has a magic carpet or something. And that was another thing too. He was wearing like this white hoodie that made him really stand out. Like, I mean, it was a very unique looking hoodie, and it was like it was like a superhero outfit or something. It was really weird. And then he comes inside and it's like, oh, like I just can't stand this storyline with that. So Little Mo also, he gets out of prison because the head of the Desire Gang, she bails him out herself, or she gets him out with the help of the crooked detective. And that's when we got the big reveal with Eugene. He had taken the money. And then the bad guys also, they looked through and tore apart Eugene's new house. So I don't know what's going to happen with Eugene. Like, his character is like this unstoppable plot object where he just goes around, hides, and just does whatever he needs to do for the plot. So with all things being said for this episode, I know I've gone on a little long. It's just because I'm trying to make sense of what I saw with this episode, because a lot of it was like, okay, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? Like I wasn't like just sitting there enjoying the ride like with episode 3. So I will give season 2 episode 4 a B. Or no, I'll give it a B plus just for Fia. Just for Fia giving Michael a haircut. So it was a pretty good episode. Definitely the weakest of the season so far. It felt like an episode where they're spinning their wheels. Episode 2 technically could have also been a B, but since it's episode 2, not episode 4, I give it a pass. So let me know what you think about it. Please like this video, comment, tell me if you agree with the stuff I said in the review, and then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more videos on Yurr Honor. Oh yeah, and if you wonder why my throat sounds so weird, because for some reason it sounds like a little weaker. I think, last year I was doing a scene, and I think that I damaged my throat a little bit from raising my voice for the scene, and so that is why I sound a little bit off kilter. So anyways, goodbye everybody, see you soon.